everyone hear us?
Yes, they can.
Okay, well, I want to thank local media for coming on this call with us. We're having this special conference call with local media because of Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas being tomorrow. We are concerned that we could see a spike in COVID cases. We saw a Halloween spike, and we saw Thanksgiving spike. And right now, the healthcare capacity is very limited. You know, we are almost overrun at the hospital. We are sending patients to other hospitals right now, and so we really need to help spread the message that right now we can't have any household mixing. We can't have any celebrations. People need to celebrate Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas with their own family, not other families. You can have virtual celebrations, but unfortunately, it is not the time. It is not the time to be going out. It is not the time to be leaving your home for celebrations. We really wanted to stress this so you could hear directly from the city and public health that the situation is serious. And I'm not sure if we have a representative from public health on the call, but I thought they could share why we're at such a critical point right now in the pandemic in Peel region.
Dr. Lowe was unable to attend, Mayor Brown.
Do we have his representative on the call?
I don't believe we do.
Okay. And then the next thing we wanted to update is Paul Morrison was going to highlight what his team will be doing to try to encourage people to follow the guidelines. Paul, do you want to speak about what Brampton bylaw will be doing this weekend?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this weekend, we have three focuses. We have one is the focus on the the restaurants and the businesses that are serving outside in the community, in tents, etc. Public health is partnering with us to make sure that that goes according to health standards. It goes towards building standards, making sure the tents are safe, well vented. In case they put heaters in, it's going to be a cold weekend. Our second piece is we're looking at the fireworks themselves. We're looking to make sure that the vendors are only selling fireworks that go a maximum of 10 feet. We're looking to make sure that it's done in a safe manner, and we'll be looking at the social distancing aspect of that. We don't want gatherings that are greater than 25 people on a property, 10 within the house. We'll continue to look at that. And we'll be looking at our general calls for service for noise complaints and other activities that surround the celebrations this weekend. To accommodate that, we normally have 6 people on staff that will work the evenings and the afternoons for Friday and Saturday. We've moved that number up. We'll have 14 people each night for that. So we're taking a more heavier or more concentrated presence out in the public. We're going to try to educate where possible, but we will also be enforcing where necessary. Make no mistake of that.
Okay, and I believe we have Harkirat Singh on the line. Harkirat was going to say a few words as well. Harkirat, do you want to join?
Mayor Brown, I don't believe Councillor Singh has joined the call yet, but we do have questions in the queue that perhaps we could get to in the meantime.
Harkirat is right here. He's going to say a few words. He's just in the office next to me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect.
1 second.
In the meantime, if we could just remind all participants from the media to please put your name in the chat. Following Councillor Singh's remarks, we will be taking questions. So please just put your name and outlet in the chat and we will follow up after. Thank you.
And Councillor Singh is just coming in the room, and then after he gives his remarks, then we'll go to questions. Here's Councillor Singh.
Hello, everyone. This is Councillor Singh, and we're in between meetings, but I just wanted to make sure that we touch base. And I've been doing a lot of media myself right now for Diwali and Bandi Chhod Divas and Deepawali. And so we are encouraging, and my office is helping facilitate with a lot of place of worship, particularly streaming online, moving their services online. So, you know, there's a lot of work to be done. But it's important we get the message out and the awareness out, especially about limiting household gatherings and not doing any household gatherings and using Skype and fun ways to interact with family and loved ones and to celebrate this important festivity and celebration, but keeping in mind that we are you know, there are dangers with COVID-19 and we have to slow down the spread. And one way we can do that is to not do social gatherings for Diwali, Deepawali, and Bandi Chhod Divas. So once again, thanks to all the media for taking time out and helping get this message out, because it's literally going to save lives. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Councillor Singh. So we'll go to questions now. The first question is from Nitin Chopra from Prime Asia TV.
Yeah, let me just bring the mayor quickly to tag in and out.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I was going to say here, we have multiple meetings happening all today, but domestic violence conference.
He jumped on the meeting. We're both switching in and out of meetings, so I'll start answering some questions and he'll jump on right away.
Okay, perfect. Nitin, are you able to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hello, Sat Sri Akal, Councillor Singh.
Sat Sri Akal.
Okay, question is, since yesterday we are getting many of the complaints that many sweet shops here in Brampton, they are selling sweets outside in a tent and without the proper protocols. Whereas the province said the restriction is there, they cannot sell open sweets outside. We have a lot of complaints registered here in our office, and then they approached the 311 also cities line, then they approached Peel Public Health. This morning when our team checked it, still the situation is the same. So what city bylaw can do anything or is doing anything? Does this is in your notice, or did you talk to the Peel Health in regard to this? Because this is a serious concern as numbers are rising, as Mayor is appealing again and again that we have to be very careful. But many of the outlets, they are selling sweets outside openly, not pre-packed into that. Does that say I'm repeating my question, that is that in your knowledge that this is happening?
Yes, it is. I've had some members also send me some complaints, which I forward on to bylaw. If there's any specific that you're noticing that aren't getting addressed, you can always send it to me and CC the mayor. We can get on it right away and talk to our director of bylaw, Paul Morrison. Obviously, it's a major concern, and the outdoor with the sweets, but also in the indoor with the grocery stores, and it's something we're keeping an eye out. And I share the same concerns that you're sharing and highlighting, because that's obviously going to create a hotspot for the spread of COVID-19, and that's what we want to avoid. So feel free to email it to us. I know you know the mayor well, so you can also CC me on there. If you're noticing something's not getting addressed, we'll help push it, because it's because of complaints like this that we can ensure the safety of our community.
Councillor Singh, because this thing happened yesterday and we are more than 24 hours into this, and today it's almost afternoon and nothing still the
project that will unleash our downtown. And so I just want to stress to councillors, we have to be ambitious.
Nitin, are you there?
Because if we're not, we're never going to get the projects that we deserve.
But I think the gist was, he's made some complaints and they're not getting addressed. And I have his number and I know the mayor has his number, so we'll connect with him. Obviously, it's concerning and we got to get on top of that. So thank you to Prime Asia and Nitin Chopra ji for always advocating on behalf of the community.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll go to our next question now from Shazia Malik from AM 770 or EWAS Media.
Yeah. Hello, Shazia ji.
Their question is, how many police officials will be patrolling the streets during Diwali, and how will firecrackers be restricted to homes only?
Yeah, so that's a good question because I know tonight we'll be talking about that as well in our calls with places of worship because they've been also asking for some support. So we'll have a better idea. We do have the superintendent attending as well our calls. So some of the places of worship, including the mandars and the gurdwaras, are looking for support. We expect a lot of patrolling. We expect a lot of patrolling from bylaw as well. I think all hands will be on deck to help out. And, enforcement is a key part to make sure that the community stays safe.
Wonderful, thank you. I do believe Shazia was trying to speak. Shazia, do you want to try again? Okay. So we'll move to our next question. Thanks, Councillor. Punjab Star Media, are we expecting a complete lockdown if COVID cases rise?
We always listen to our Dr. Lawrence Lowe, Peel Public Health, and the mayor, and he's here right now. They asked, do we expect to see a complete lockdown in the future? That's the next question with Punjab Star.
So I don't anticipate seeing a complete lockdown, and let's be honest. In March, when they shut down things, they did not shut down Brampton and Peel region. Our largest companies, transportation, logistics, truckers, Amazon, food processing companies, they never got shut down. And so while some cities were completely shut down, Brampton was never shut down because we're too integral to Canada's supply chain. Having said that, I don't think we're going to have some of the sweeping shutdowns that we saw before, because as public health has stated, we have a much greater idea of what is low risk and high risk. And so before we didn't know a lot about the virus, they've learned a lot about the virus since March. And so they can be more surgical in what they shut down now. But I think if we see another spike, if we see a Diwali spike and a Bandichor Divis spike in cases, there will be further restrictions. And that's why I'm really pushing everyone to please work with us, because I think it's already tough enough. It's already tough enough on our small businesses. Further restrictions would just be suffocating for our small businesses that have really struggled.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor Brown. Our next question comes from South Asian Voice, Kawinder China. Kawinder, can you hear us? Okay.
He dropped the call, Natalie.
Oh, he dropped the call? Okay. Our next question is from Gujarat Weekly. Did you make any recommendations to the Premier regarding more restrictions?
So we haven't spoken about further restrictions. At this point, I believe the restrictions they put in place are surgical in nature. And so if we don't see another spike, I think we can manage with the current restrictions. But if we see another spike, that's when my worry is that they'll start asking about what else can be shut down.
Wonderful. Thank you. And our next question is from Simrat Grewal. You see you have your hand up. Please go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
I think Simrat's having problems unmuting his mic.
Okay. If you're able to put your questions in the chat, we can also take them that way.
Natalie, it shows that Simrat is actually on the call and unmuted.
Okay.
Oh, and I would just note that, Natalie, we have Dr. Lawrence Lowe on the call, and so he could speak to the severity of the situation and why it's so important we don't have a Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas spike. So maybe, Dr. Lowe, if you just want to give a brief assessment of why this is such a critical point right now, such a critical point in our fight with the virus in Peel region, and why we're pleading with the community to make sure we don't have household mixing.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Mayor Brown, and good afternoon, everyone. It's really, first of all, allow me to bring my best wishes to all of you for a happy Deepavali, a happy Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas, and really recognizing that it's a very special time for our community, not just for the South Asian community, but certainly for Brampton and Peel region in celebrating this. That said, I must say, and with thanks to Mayor Brown, I must really highlight the critical situation that we are seeing in terms of COVID-19 transmission in our community at this point in time. We are seeing a lot of cases, a significant caseload, high rates of transmission, and this transmission is widespread throughout the community. And so what we really need to do is, when we see a situation like we're seeing in the region of Peel, we need to reduce as much as possible our in-person interactions. Things like group gatherings, things like get-together, particularly with people outside of your home, those pose significant risks of COVID-19 right now, just given the high rates of transmission that we see there. And we also know that our hospitals are starting to see more and more cases. And currently, William Osler has been transferring patients out and has been canceling elective surgeries to ensure that they can continue their usual healthcare provision, along with dealing with the COVID-19 surge and all the infection control measures that are required. So I want to be really clear around how Diwali and Bandi Chor Divas is going to look like this weekend. We're really counting on your support as a community to make sure that we keep each other safe and keep Brampton and the region of Peel safe. And so for that reason, I'm asking that you please limit any celebrations to the people that you live with in your immediate household, the people that you live with under one roof right now, and to avoid mixing households, to avoid gathering with people that are beyond your household. The reason for this is the more people that are in one gathering, you're going to see a risk of that someone might show up and they may be incubating COVID-19. And the more people that are at a gathering, the more people may get exposed if that happens. So just for the absolute safety of people, we're asking, celebrate within your home, limit any other interaction to people beyond your home to virtual interactions, trying to meet through Zoom, through WebEx, maybe even dropping off food or treats at each other's house and then sharing it at least virtually, so that we're not having the in-person contact and interactions that can lead to transmission. And this doesn't speak just to large household gatherings, but it also speaks to large gatherings in temples and mandirs and gurdwaras, really trying to limit situations where the virus can spread to a lot of people, because we know that our rates of transmission are high, they're continuing to grow, we don't want them to grow any further, and we want to keep everybody safe. So the message this year is celebrate but don't congregate, and unfortunately it's just going to have to look a little bit different this year. I know many people are taking steps to have a safe Diwali. Thank you all for thinking of creative ways to celebrate this year, and I really appreciate all the efforts of the community to make sure that we keep this under control. Thank you, and I'll pass it back to Mayor Brown.
Well, why don't we take a few of the questions, and I would note, Natalie, that I can stay on for another 5 minutes, and then I have to go speak at a domestic violence conference that the Peel Family Services is having today. Virtually, Lawrence, don't worry, I'm not going to a conference with lots of people. But why don't I take a few questions while I'm still on, and then Lawrence can handle the remainder. And plus, he's got the most well-researched answers. I'm usually just sharing the advice that he has, and so you'll get to ask the man himself what the best guidance is of public health. But happy to answer any questions for the next 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor Brown, and thank you, Dr. Lowe. Our next question comes from Rajinder Saini from Parvasi Media Group.
Yeah. Hi, Mayor Brown. How are you?
Good, Rajinder.
And Dr. Lowe, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Happy Diwali to both of you. Happy Bandi Chhor Divas. I have two questions, quick questions. First, that now during this very tough time of Diwali, this year is unprecedented the way we are celebrating Diwali and Bandi Chhor Divas. I'm wondering how city decided to allow for fireworks. Many of the cities, even in India, they are not allowing for fireworks this time. We have very limited staff, bylaw officers. How we are going to control it tomorrow during the Diwali time in the evening?
So we'll let Paul Morrison answer that. He's our director of bylaw enforcement on what they thought was appropriate and what wasn't appropriate. I understand it's only low range fireworks, sort of family style fireworks. I would note the Indian Consul General sent me over sparklers, came to my office today, and a kurta pajama for my son Theodore. They made a small one for a 1-year-old. So maybe tomorrow when we're celebrating Diwali, we'll be using the sparklers, but not any serious fireworks. And so I think the guidelines are to encourage people to use very small fireworks to maintain the tradition, but no serious large fireworks that we're used to seeing on Diwali and Bandi Chhor Divas. And so maybe Paul, you could answer that more appropriately on what is permitted and what isn't.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ravinder, thank you for your question. What we do is we traditionally look at the past years. I can tell you in the past couple of years, our concern over fireworks has really been at a minimum. People have been very respectful of the rules. The rules simply state on your own property, not on public property, less than 10 feet in height. And this year, coupled with that, we have to look at the gathering. So we respect that people have been very good about the use of fireworks in previous years. Now we have to focus on staying in groups of less than 25 on private property. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out a little bit earlier than most people. We're going to be out in late afternoon, canvassing the neighborhoods, driving through, looking for signs where people are going to let fireworks off, making sure they do it in a safe manner. We have increased our staffing levels significantly over the weekend to accommodate increased calls for service. We would hope that where people see violations take place, call 311, and we will get there as fast as possible. We expect that our response rate will be quicker this year. So we've taken these into consideration. We've worked with strategic communications and putting messages out there about the proper use, etc. And we hope that people are listening.
Okay, Morrison, I have just one quick question. I have just heard that some people were selling sweets in their banquet halls. So they have been asked to shut down. They are not allowed. So is it true? I mean, they are telling us that please convey to the listeners, to the public, that we won't be open tomorrow to people who are looking to purchase the sweets tomorrow during the Diwali day. So what is the latest situation?
Well, I think Paul Morrison could answer that directly. Are banquet halls permitted to sell sweets from their vicinities, or is that prohibited right now under the emergency orders?
It's prohibited. Banquet halls are supposed to be closed under the order. Ravinder, I can tell you I was speaking with public health probably about an hour ago, one of their managers, and we had a conversation that yes, there are places that are open, they're selling from tents, etc. Public health has put out their people, they are out in the community, they're looking for these, and where they find them, they will be addressing the problem appropriately, either through education or enforcement. I have my staff out there doing the same sort of thing. We're looking for that, even though it comes under public health, we're going to assist them, and we're going to continue this through the whole weekend.
Okay, they're not permitted for tomorrow?
Not for banquet halls. Banquet halls are supposed to be closed. If they set up a restaurant outside the banquet hall in a permitted tent, then we have to look at it. Unfortunately, there's so many different ways to approach the regulations that each situation is almost something we have to look at itself.
Okay, thank you, Morrison.
Wonderful, thank you. So we'll go to our next question, which is from Hamdard Media.
Hi, this is Taranjeet Kaur from Hamdard Media. And I have a question regarding the places of worship. As we all know that the Indian festival Diwali and Bandi Chhor Divas are tomorrow, and there are some more festivals coming day by day. So according to the latest news, the P Regional Medical Officer of Health says that the places of worship being a big spreader of worship. So what is the what is right now City Council is deciding to shut down the businesses or to start them to do the virtual things as they were doing earlier in the first wave?
So I think Dr. Lowe would be best to answer that question in terms of his advice for places of worship. And one of the reasons why we have a concern, I'm sure Dr. Lowe can share this, but we've had 3 recent outbreaks in places of worship. And as much as we want to give people the ability to express their faith, and I think there's huge mental health benefits to that, in that spiritual nourishment, you should have your eyes wide open that it's been an area of concern for public health, and Dr. Lowe can explain why.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the question, and thank you. So it's really important to highlight that at this time we are discouraging large gatherings as much as possible, and this would include places of worship. And so to the extent that, especially this weekend during Diwali, Bandi Chhor Divas, you can try to celebrate again in your household with the people you live with already. We're trying to discourage all large gatherings. Please don't hold any large gatherings or attend any large gatherings. We recognize, of course, traditionally places of worship are feature very prominently in Diwali celebrations, but we're asking at this point in time for any religious services to ideally be conducted virtually. And certainly that is the most ideal way to conduct it at this point in time, just given the increasing cases we are seeing in our region.
Thank you. And my second quick question, my last question is right now is like, as we all know that the cases are going to so up, they're rising day by day. And the thing is like, what we are feeling, what everybody is feeling that the fines are very pocket friendly. That's why people are not taking that much of precautions. So by not increasing the fines, so that when it will like hit them hard, so they will definitely will take the precautions.
Yeah.
The fines, Dr. Lowe, they're not user friendly. I can tell you that fines can go up to $100,000. And if anyone thinks that is user friendly, well, they've got a much bigger pocketbook than most people. There are steep fines that people can face, and maybe Paul Morrison could explain the sliding scale of fines and how many people are currently before the courts facing significant fines.
But thank you. But if we saw the ratio of the fines, it is very less right now. How many people have been fined in hundreds of thousands? So some fines are like 200, like 500. So if we will increase that thing, so don't you think so? It will like hit hard the pockets of the people, and they will be forced to follow the precautions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The fines do slide up. I mean, we are starting in the mid hundreds for face masks. We go up to $880 for social distancing. But those are the fines that we can hand you right on the spot. There's another fine that what we can do is summons you. And there's still a lot of those out in the court system right now that will have to be heard. And those are the fines the mayor has alluded to, going up to $100,000. The province brought in the minimum $10,000 fines for some of these parties that are going on. So we're not afraid to hand those tickets out. When we find that there's an egregious or a really serious breach of the regulations, we will charge for that. I can tell you we've handed over $500,000 of fines out so far. So that is a big number. We've charged probably we're close to 900 charges right now. Our warnings are probably, we give out probably 1.5 warnings for every charge we give out now. So we've reduced the ratio there. So we are charging more. We are charging very many people. We are not taking excuses anymore.
Thank you so much. Thanks for giving the time.
Thank you.
I'm going to do one more question, then Dr. Lowe can take over because I do have to go on the domestic violence conference.
Yeah, Mayor Brown, this is Yudhvir Jaswal from Y Media. How are you?
Yudhvir, doing good.
Yeah, Mayor, what will be that point that we are going to go with any further restrictions? We already know that, yes, Toronto has gone beyond what Ontario is suggesting, and in Brampton, any further measures that you suggest, because the numbers are in Brampton, it has been a discussion, right across Ontario.
So I wasn't pushing for further restrictions. I think we have adequate restrictions right now, but I do think if you have another spike in cases, you could see further restrictions. Right now, I'm just trying to get the support and the resources for our residents. I know we got approved for isolation center. That's going to help some of the people in precarious employment who live in crowded living conditions and can't afford to isolate. We're getting more testing capacity from the province, more staff for public health. I do think the city understands the severity of the situation and understands that we need to adapt and listen to the advice of public health. I'm hopeful we don't have to see more restrictions, but if we did see another spike, anything's possible. And so, we saw what happened last year when it was almost a complete shutdown. I hope that through everyone's goodwill and collaboration, it doesn't get to that.
Very quick follow-up question in 5 seconds. Do you think this is going to work? Because, on a very quick note, the number of cases in Australia in the entire November, in that entire country is 0. Australia, the entire country is 0. And here we have a city, Brampton, we're not able to control. So we definitely need to take some more measures, please. Thank you.
So maybe I'd have Dr. Lowe speak to your example of Australia, but I would say there are different dynamics. Their season is opposite in Australia. I know they had major restrictions and lockdowns in Melbourne and in Victoria State earlier this year when they were going through their winter. There is some commonality with the flu season and how this virus works, but I'll let Dr. Lowe elaborate on comparisons between Peel region and other international jurisdictions. I know he stays in touch with other leading physicians in other jurisdictions, and we can learn from patterns we're seeing elsewhere, notably Europe, that has similar living conditions.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question. So certainly it's challenging, as always, to compare between different jurisdictions, but I think it's really incumbent to really look at the specific situations that are occurring country to country. I think Canada and the province of Ontario has done quite well, considering that much of our initial transmission was from returning travelers from the United States in March, and just the significant interconnections that we have with the crisis that's in the United States that really led to our initial situation, as opposed to Australia and New Zealand, which are island countries, and we're able to institute significant border controls quite early on, and as Mayor Brown noted, are now entering the summer season, which means that more people are spending time outside as opposed to indoors. That said, I do want to underline what I said at the very beginning. Certainly, we are seeing a serious situation here in Brampton and in the region of Peel. And while I believe that the restrictions and the measures that we have put in place right now are a start, and we're really relying on the community to come together with the education work and the enforcement to continue, this is very much our last chance to bring the second wave under control without broader, more restrictive measures coming down. So I think it's very fair to highlight that our situation is quite serious, and that for that reason, we are asking everyone with Diwali and Bande Chhor Divas this weekend to really limit your celebrations to the people that you live with, and do not meet for big group gatherings, do not mix households, and really connect virtually with everyone beyond your own home. Thank you very much for the question.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Lowe. So that completes today's call. I would like to thank Mayor Brown, Councillor Singh, Dr. Lowe, and Paul Morrison, and all media that joined us today. If you do have follow-up questions, please email mediarelations@brampton.ca. And with that, we'd like to wish everyone a very safe and very happy Diwali and Bande Chhor Divas. Thank you.